Greetings, my fellow humanoid dwellers. I create videos on technology and other random things. If you like this video, you might like others. If you don't like this video, you still might like others. Consider subscribing to my channel or checking out my Patreon page. If you already subscribe, hit that bell. This video series is going to result in us bringing in data from the real world and displaying it in a web browser. Some of this data will be represented in graph form. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the canvas tag today, which is how we'll graph data going forward. In this example, we're still going to go ahead and log into the Pi and make the changes in Nano. We're going to do that for a couple more videos, and then we'll switch over to FTP type of file transfer. We log into the Pi using our regular credentials. You may have changed them by now. And then we need to move to the proper directory. Go back twice. And then we go to the var directory. We go to the www directory. And we go to the HTML directory. We'll do a list of the files that are in there. Over here, I've left it exactly like it was where we left off. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the index.htm file and add the canvas tag. We'll just add it down at the bottom. If you remember, anything within the greater than and less than symbols is not outputted. The HTML editor itself will look at that and create an area that you can draw in. Hit Control O, enter, Control X, and it will refresh over here, but you shouldn't see a thing. Now we're going to go into the CSS file. We're going to add some things in here. Now, the way I'm coding this, both in HTML and CSS, is not conventional. I'm doing it very simply just to get you used to tags and styles. If you're already familiar with some of the stuff and you're here for the Raspberry Pi stuff, then some of the stuff will seem very basic. But for now, I'm going to add some styles to the canvas so it will show up over on the web page. Remember, right, we just list the tag name. Some curly braces or brackets out there. I'm going to do it a little different because I'm going to have more than, if you notice up here, I had two different styles I was adding to the P tag. Down here we're going to go ahead and add a few more. We're going to add a width, 200 pixels. You could put these in line, but I feel it's easier to read if they're vertical. To a height of 200 pixels. We're going to put a border around it. We'll make the border width 5 pixels. We'll make it solid, and we'll make it black. And we'll hit save and enter. Now when we refresh over here, you should see it, and that's our canvas. Now we'll exit. Now, in order to use Canvas, you have to use it in a JavaScript file. JavaScript is just another text file, but it has a .js at the end of it, and the HTML knows how to interpret it based upon how you call it within the HTML file itself. But first we'll go ahead and create the JavaScript file. We'll use Nano. Remember, if we type in a new file, it'll just create it if it doesn't already exist. We'll call it test.js. In JavaScript, you have to identify what it is that you are going to manipulate. When you identify what it is you're you're going to modify or add, you have to be very specific. In this case, we're going to document, because we're pointing to the HTML document itself. And then we're going to get the element by an ID. Get. JavaScript uses camel case. So when you use words, they always have to be, it starts with a lowercase, and then every word after it that's smashed together has to be capitalized. And it is very case sensitive. If you get one of those off, it will not work. We're going to make the ID of canvas. Actually, in order to be clear, I think I'm going to call it canvasID. And we have to tell it whether it's going to be a 3D image that we're going to draw or a 2D. And use getContext for that. And in quotes you put 2D. And then we're going to do where we're going to, our start point, in other words, where this is going to start drawing, it's going to move a pointer. moveTo. And we're going to move it to coordinate 1010. If you remember, we made the box 200 pixels by 200 pixels. We're going to set it to 10 pixels over and 10 pixels down. You don't have to use the word px or pixel in this. It just knows 1010 is pixels. And every time you reference it, you have to continue to reference that exact object over and over. There is a shortcut, and I'll show you that in a future video. But for now, just type it in, because it's good to do this a couple times so you get familiar, because get by ID is a very common JavaScript command. Now the next step, since we've moved to 1010, we're going to draw a line. So it's a line 2 and then another set of coordinates. We're just going to go ahead and draw a straight line. 120, 120. And now what you could do is you could do another line to another location and another line to another location, but it won't show up on the screen until you tell JavaScript that you're done. So you have to do one more command at the end. And the last command is stroke. That just says apply everything that you've told it to do so far. And then we'll save this. And we'll exit. Now we have to go back into the index.html and add the link to the JavaScript file. You could put script tags in here. You could do script and then put a space and then do script, and you could put all that code within the same file, within the index.htm. But it's not a good idea to put multiple languages within one file if it can be avoided. Just like the CSS files, we have it in a separate sheet. It makes it easier to identify problems, especially when the scripts get larger and larger. In order to add an external script, you still use the script tags, but you add a source in it. And you just put the name. If there was another directory, we'd have to add the directory in here also. A lot of times what you'll do is you'll put all the CSS files in one directory, all the JavaScript files in another directory, and then you'll refer by directory. Ours is such a small example that this will work just fine. So I've added the source file to the HTML file. Now everything should work. Hit Control O, then enter to save it, and then go over here, hit refresh, and it does not work. And the reason that it doesn't work is because HTML executes everything line by line. So the first thing it did is it added the style sheets. The way style sheets work is they're applied and held in memory. So as you go through here, anything that has to do with that style will be applied to the p tag or to the canvas tag. The script files do not. The script files are executed. When it goes to a script file, when it goes to test.js, it executed those statements. The canvas had not yet been applied since it was only up here. So it wasn't able, it didn't know what the canvas was, so it tried to apply that, it tried to draw a line, but it didn't know where it was applying it. So what we have to do is you have to have the script tags after, at the end of the file. Before I refresh this or save this, if you remember in the test.js file, referred to the canvas by getElementById, canvasID. So what you have to do in JavaScript is it can't find it by its tag name. So we have to add the ID to the canvas tag. So that's how the test.js will be referring to this. Now when I refresh this, you see the line. Now if you think that by adding the canvas ID it made this work and I did not have to move it, we'll go ahead and move it back just to show you that it does matter. Save. Refresh. You can see the line is not there. I will go ahead and move it back. We'll save it and we'll refresh, and our line is back. So in this video we added a canvas tag, we added a very simple JavaScript file, and we linked it to this. If you're not familiar with Canvas, I would go through and maybe draw a couple more lines just to get familiar, because we're going to pull in data and we're going to draw some graphs based upon the data that we pull in. The video should start to get more and more fun, especially as we start to collect some data. We're going to start by collecting some temperature data and then plotting it on a graph. That's about it for this video. Thanks for watching.